Welcome to emoLab's Talk Series podcast, where we explore how technology shapes our lives. From digital consumers to gig workers and service robots, we delve into the world of algorithms, AI, and automation, examining how they transform our emotions, behaviors, and businesses. In each episode, we bring you thought-provoking conversations on the impacts of algorithmic capitalism and how to navigate a future increasingly dominated by machines. Join us for insights into who benefits, who's left out, and what it all means for the future. On today's episode of the emoLab Talk Series, we welcome John Gakunyi, a data labeling quality specialist, AI ethics advocate, and co-founder of the Data Labelers Association in Kenya. Drawing on his frontline experience within the global AI supply chain, John sheds light on the often overlooked human labor that powers contemporary AI systems. In this conversation, he explores how practices such as AI washing blur the boundaries between human and machine, and why recognizing this hidden workforce is essential to understanding the ethical, economic, and emotional risks emerging in today's AI-driven landscape.
My name is John Gakunyi from Kenya. And I'm a data laborer working in the industry of data labeling since 2020. So that is now 5 years plus, because I started around the month of August. Yeah, so that is about 5 years plus. And I've been in these industries overcoming different challenges. But all in all, we have managed. And I believe by the end of this presentation, we are going to have an understanding on the perspective of the side of data labeler. We always see the major breakthrough in AI, the self-driving car, the chat models and such. But we rarely see the work which is usually done by the people who actually make it work. Yeah, maybe when most of this work is presented in the many people's mind, they'll always think of a programmer. But by the end of this, we'll for those maybe who have not interacted with the maybe data labeling, you'll be able to understand what is the role of a data labeler and what are these challenges we go through and what is some of the ethical concerns that we come across. So to start with, so as a short introduction, when you talk of the data labeling in such, we talk of like AI system usually depend on high quality labeled data, not just data, because for it to be able to be effective, the data has to be of top quality. That is why if maybe we are doing an annotation on a scene, as we'll discuss what annotation is, you have to be specific. You have to make sure you capture the data exactly as it is presented on that particular image. Yeah, so for the AI system, for it to be effective, the data has to be of high quality. Then behind every data set, there are real people working on this platform. It is not only machines, and that is the reason why it is called artificial intelligence, because there is the artificial nature of it. And not only the programmers, but a lot of people are involved in maybe getting that system work. There are a lot of people, and data labelers is part of that group of people, which is actually invisible. Then we'll also discuss some of the ethics in the AI industry, and this begins way before even when you're starting deploying the system, not just when maybe the system has been deployed. That is when we'll see maybe a lot of applications talking about like this AI should do this, maybe what we are getting from this system is not quality. That is when people start seeing concerns. When maybe you ask about something, maybe I think there was a certain story I came across where like a kid actually committed suicide because he was getting the advice from the AI system. That is when now people start seeing the ethical concerns. But this starts way before, even when we are correcting the data. So our goal is to understand how the human labor shapes the AI industry or AI ethics and also the fairness in the industry. Yeah. So what is what is data labeling? When you talk of data labeling, what is actually data labeling? So data labeling is actually like teaching an AI the way to you teach an actually a small child. That is how the data labeling usually works. You are presented with a scene and you are now supposed to name things in that particular scene. You label this with a computer, some is done with a phone. And you now shape this to something structured. So when you talk of data labeling, what actually happens is you are presented with a scene which is captured, let's say like we are dealing with, because for the 5 years, the data which I've dealt with mostly is which is used to train the self-driving vehicles. So when you talk of the labeling data, there is that car as it is moving is it has a device which is actually attached on maybe on the bonnet or at the top, and it captures the data, the entire data. In let's say the way you usually see a street, it will capture everything in that particular street. So for me as a data labeler, I'm now supposed to teach this car to understand what did it actually capture. So I'll be presented with an image. It could be what we call LiDAR. That is a technology they use, light detection and ranging. That is one of the technology where the data is stored in terms of small points, which resemble that is the actual object. So if it is like a human being, instead of seeing the picture of a human, you'll see those points forming the shape of a human being. But this is usually accompanied with the image so that the labeler can reference. So the labeler is given this particular data. My work now is to go like maybe to capture at a distance, let's say even a short distance of 10 meters, 100 meters. So I'm now supposed to label what did it capture. There was other vehicles. That is actually one of the major things usually annotate. There were other vehicles. So each and every vehicle on that particular road, I'll label it. You label these using, you can use cuboids, that is cuboids. There is another tool we call segmenting. So this segmenting is now where you are like coloring that particular object, and then you classify it, you give it a label. So if it is a vehicle, maybe I drop a box, I drop a cuboid, and then I label it, this is a car. That is, I give it a label as a car. It has its lights on, it has its lights off. All lights, is it the turn signal? Is it the brake light? On which lane is it in reference to where this what we call like the self-driving car or an ego car is. Is it to the left? Is it in front of it? Is it to the right? All that data. So that now the engineer now can use the data I have labeled to help now improve the system, be able to understand when you come across this is what we call, this is a vehicle. Then if there is a person, I do the same. Then you'll sometimes even label the road itself, the road surface itself, the lane marking. This all depends on what the client actually wants to teach their system. So in each and every project, it will have different instructions. Sometimes you may get a project where you are now supposed to label everything which was captured. Sometimes you are now supposed to label only the driver, but that is the driving objects and any movable object. This is vehicles, human beings, and such. That is what you are supposed to label. So it may depend. This all depends on what exactly the client or maybe they want to teach the model. So that is actually basically what we mean by the labeling. Labeling everything, you come across what was captured, and then that information is used by the engineers now to model their system based on the data. And in later slides, you see why this is so important. I would also like to mention another form which comes very close to the data labeling. They usually go hand in hand. Actually, Matthew mentioned it at the start, is what we call content moderation. I have done it slightly. and I have also interacted with the people doing the content moderation. So the content moderation, as like data labeling we are talking of, we are now teaching the system and all that. When you come now to content moderation, this is now like you are now reviewing what you are be able to see online. Let's say like talk of the TikTok, the Facebook, the X, most of these social platforms. So a content moderator is now the person who is the guy who now views the violent data, the violent maybe content, the suicidal content, so that it gets filtered before you can be able to view it maybe on a public platform or maybe on your timeline. So a content moderator is the person who now consumes the harmful content, because yes, there is that program which now dictates that this is a violent content, this is an abusive content. But before this algorithm, which was just developed, understands what is violent, what is suicidal, what is hate speech, before it can be able to understand that, it means there is the data which it was given and it was told this is harmful, and the more data it is given, the more it gets accurate. So the content moderators keeps consuming a lot of this data each and every day. 8 hours every single day, someone watching obscene content, the suicidal content the whole day. So that me, when I'm sitting down when I'm holding my phone scrolling across the TikTok, I can be able to see safe content. I will never come across someone who is maybe injuring someone deliberately, someone who is committing suicide. I will never come across such a data because someone else consumed on my behalf. That is now the second part of content moderation. And the reason I have mentioned content moderation, because apart, although they are viewing these violent content and such, we are all facing the same challenges as the data labelers. Yeah. And yeah, so that is about content moderation. It's something broad. It has a lot of information. But for the aspect of time, maybe I just wanted to mention what actually it is content moderation. So let's start off the human side of AI. I've just mentioned it, and now I would like now maybe to give more details on the human side of AI. So as I have said, the labeler now teaches the system to understand, to recognize. You understand this is a person, this is a cone on the road, this is another vehicle, this is a truck, it is in front of you. Yeah, and then they'll now build the programmer, you now understand how will I use this information. That is now when it comes to the coding. So quality affects the model of the performance. If maybe I'm labeling a scene and maybe I miss on there was a person crossing the road. Actually, that is one of the things we are told is very, very critical. It's better maybe you miss out to label something with a cone which was maybe on the side of the road, because even if the vehicle hits the cone, there'll be less damage. But if you missed a person, the vehicle fails to understand, maybe to recognize that person. If you miss to annotate a vehicle, you miss to label a vehicle, it means we'll be having casualties. And just recently, we are working on a project. There was the initial instructions. We are supposed just to label the lane markings on the road. And there was like the distance where we are supposed to mark it. Then when the client went to test the model, it happened like he actually said the the vehicle actually hit like a roadblock on the side, because we ended the line so maybe so close to where the ego car is, and so it couldn't be able to understand the farthest end, and this car is moving at a high speed, so that they had to review the instruction. And now you have to label maybe to extend those particular lines so that the model can avoid such damages. So the quality is very important. Sorry, I think there is some maybe vehicle passing. putting, that is the actually the the normality in Nairobi City. Yeah. Yeah, so to continue, so the other thing we talk of, like the human judgment will bridge the gap between the data and the meaning. So the data you are given is very raw. The system can't understand the data. The system will not. It actually, maybe for those, I know we have students, the people who are in the coding industry, we know the cause machines will understand more of binary content. So it can't just understand this is a tree. So I'm the person who is now supposed to label it as a tree, then it will be translated to a language it can understand. It can't just understand there is a tree here, this is a vehicle, this is a truck, this is a van and everything. So the human judgment, I'm now the person who is now supposed to understand this particular information clearly so that the machine now can be able to understand everything. And ethical data practices will always equal to a reliable outcome. If you build a system unethically, definitely that system you'll always come across a lot of obstacles. And clearly, those are the things that we come across here and there. Some of these things being overlooked and everything. So if you build a system ethically, it will definitely be a reliable system. Me as a data labeler, I'll be very much ready to continue working on that platform. The consumer will be okay with everything, and the whole system will be a reliable one. So now allow me to mention some of the challenges, some of those challenges a data labelers faces each and every day. And the most common is the exploitation in the AI work. This is where we go through low payouts, long working hours, no contracts. You are not recognized for the work you are doing. And it is actually a huge plague in the industry. Maybe to talk maybe more about on this area. When you talk of low payout, uh, I have worked on many systems actually even today. You find like you're working on a very heavy task. That is, you can see the labeling. If you are not supposed to label everything in a scene which was captured for 100 meters, very precise, let's say like it is a busy city center, you have to distinguish in each and every point, each and every object in that particular area. Even if it is 50 meters, you have buildings, you have street lights, you have people walking, you have a lot of vehicles, some parked, you have the surface, you have trees, a lot of objects which will be in that scene. So I used to work on this kind of sequence for a whole week. That is me being fast. Because I was also used to train guys working on this kind of work, I could train some people, and these guys, they could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks working on such task. I help them bring quality because by the end of the day, it's all about quality. I understand the effect it will have on the system, so I'll work with them step by step to make sure what they produce is of high quality. So someone have worked on a sequence on a task for 2 weeks of long hours, that is more than 10 hours, 15 hours. And then by the end of the day, actually, the first step, once they finish the task, the pay won't come immediately. So you worked for 2 weeks, then you might be able to wait, you might be waiting for another week, 2 weeks, 1 month to get paid. And when the pay comes, it is just about less than $20 for the entire work you did all those hours. So basically that is a payout that can't be able to sustain that particular person. But because of the challenges, and I understand most of the system, or maybe the people who have this system, they usually understand these people, they are less work, and that is why a lot of these works are available in Africa, part of South America, Asia, and more so Africa and Asia, because they understand these people, they really need this work. Even if it is low payout, Someone will just take up work for 10 hours, even if they get $5 for the whole day, they are just okay with it. Not just they are okay, yes, but they'll take it because they feel like I don't have something else to do. And that is why now the perpetrators now come in to make sure they exploit your weakness. These people are working for all these long hours. They don't have any contract which are bind them. So it means each and every anytime that person can leave and go. I've been a victim. You're working on a sister on a certain company, and just one day they woke up and left. No communication, no nothing. They just left. So it's up to you to decide what will you do next with your life. What do you do? What can you provide for yourself and everything? Yeah. So and then the other instance I had with lack of basic order, and even when they provide them, you are getting something which is not protected. So at a certain point, I was like engaged contractually. So there is this particular area where I was given like we'll be paying you this amount, you'll be working for these hours, and so on. But what happened? Yes, I was told I would be working for 8 hours, but I ended up working for long hours. Sometimes I could start working at 8 a.m. and you get those communication, we are getting pressure from the client, we want to deliver this work, so and so. So I could work as late as 3 a.m. But there is no overtime for that particular work. And then even after doing all this, one day we just got an email. We have a short meeting, not even like an email to tell you whatever is happening. We have a short meeting. And then a short meeting which was lasted for less than 10, actually around 5 minutes, because the person just came in and communicated, we can continue with this program without any proper reason. So just like that, you're not a jobless person again. As a man who has a family, you now have to start thinking, what will you do to provide to your family? In an early morning, 10 a.m. in the morning, someone just calls you and tells you, hey, we can't continue with this. So even if someone had told you like you are contracted, it's actually like you are not contracted because they can take it anytime. They can just leave it. And in the same instance, one of my colleagues was actually dismissed at 11 p.m. at night. Yeah, someone just comes in and says, your work is bad, and they just let you go. Although even you have been working there for months and nobody has ever given you like your quality has an issue or anything. So they just decide and you are let go. Yeah. The other thing of that we have the invisible workforce and the isolation. As I have said, we have millions and millions of people fueling this system. Yet their contribution remain unrecognized. These are the people who are working for long hours, doing everything, but nobody understands they are actually there. And you can be working on a system, on a certain company developing that system for maybe even years. Because the previous company we had people who actually started working as early as 2018. They left the other day, 2023. 2024 actually. So we had people who had been working for all that long. But what actually happened, if once they left, you don't have any document you can support like you have been doing here. If you even choose to move to another organization, you'll just be starting afresh. You can't say like, I have been a top trainer in this and this. It will just be words. You don't have any document. You can't even support like your quality data labeler. The only way you will be able to support yourself, you just go there, they give you work. Maybe if you are lucky, they take you, they give you that work again. And then you have to prove yourself that you are good in what you do. And even as you prove yourself, there is no like the climbing ladder in that organization. So they'll just be happy they have a good data labeler. Yeah, I have been working in the current organization now for like a year and something. And you can say like they'll only praise you. You are the best. Every other tough task, they know they can bring to you and you'll be able to solve it. But apart from that, they don't want to recognize you. They don't want you like to commit to you and everything. So you remained an isolated organization. The other major challenge is about the mental health crisis. This is a major one because for me, if when someone just dismisses you anyhow, you have a family to feed, you have bills to pay. So definitely you're affected mentally. Actually, I've seen people in the office crying after a payout was sent. It was below the expectations. You have been waiting for this payout for weeks, and then what you get, you don't know what to sort and what you can't sort with that payout. So it is just, you just get the payout, but it is not like a payout, and you don't have a voice. If you try to voice yourself, you risk maybe losing that particular job what you have, even if you know it is not, maybe you are not doing, it is not worth of whatever you are working on, but because you don't because of the scarcity, the lack of the unemployment rate in these countries, you still feel like I need this, because if I get dismissed, it sometimes you feel it is better I'm getting that $50 a whole week instead of, it is better than nothing. So most of people operate in that mindset. It is better than nothing or anything. Yeah. So the mental health crisis, sometimes you don't even know when you'll get the payout. Like recently, I've been working for like now more than a month, and the payout I have received, it can't even pay my house rent. Having worked for completed over 10 tasks or 10 projects, only two have been paid. The rest are still pending. No reason given. So you are now, you don't know you don't know the amount you'll be paid. You don't know when it will be paid. So you'll always be in stress and all that. And then one or maybe the final one from my list, as I said, there are many. There are no policy and regulation, because there are a lot of loopholes. Like in my country, the current role which we have, the law that we have, is dated back in 2007. So 2007, we didn't have this kind of jobs. So they choose to exploit it. There is no law governing them. Like if you come in here, this is what you are supposed to do. If you engage our citizens, this is what we are supposed to do. Sometimes you find even you have a government that is supporting these people because they don't really understand the mental torture or maybe the strain you go through. We have a president who is on record saying our work is just pressing computers. So clearly, he doesn't understand what kind of work, or the stress, the challenges the citizens are facing. It is just for him, he's just pressing the computer and getting the dollars. But how do you get the dollars? For having a lot of harmful content, suicidal, and then after that, there is nobody. If you maybe happen to get maybe ill or anything, nobody will be there to take care of you. Like an instance we had, although still in Africa, was working with one of the content moderation firms in Kenya. That is, which is not based in Kenya, it is an international one, but what they usually have, they have this kind of BPOs. So the person was denied permission to go home. So that person get stressed, depressed, and it is believed she actually took her own life because of those challenges. Yeah, and nobody is actually there, maybe. So basically, a lot of there is no that policy governing the whole organization. So some of the ethical concerns, as I have said, biased data will lead to unfair outcomes. If in your way of collecting that data, maybe you are marginalizing people, these are maybe based on gender, races, and everything, definitely your system will be still be biased. You have privacy and consent issues. On this is now another major one. We have come across companies just asking you to send photos of your kids. You don't even know what they'll be doing with that particular data. But because, as I have said, because of this rate, the unemployment rate and everything, this person will actually just do that, maybe take that photo maybe take a photo of your kid dancing. They'll just take it, and they won't even have the chance, like they don't even have a room to question, because actually those kind of data will come with a better pay, maybe something. If someone is just told to take a photo of their kid and they'll get $5, they just take it. They feel like it is like free money, but in real sense, you don't know how they are going to use that image. You don't control the privacy and everything. We also have instances where organizations will install spyware on your machine, and you don't even actually understand the actual data they are collecting. They will claim they are monitoring, maybe you so that you give maximum hours. Remember, this is a person without contract, but they still want to make sure you meet the maximum hours. But you actually don't know the amount of data they will actually collect and how they will use that particular data. So there is need for fairness, accountability, and respect. And we also have there is, as I have said, there is no transparency in this data sourcing. They collect your data. How are they going to use it? We actually get a lot of those projects. Take a picture of maybe of your grandma, maybe a person aged 60 and above, 70 and above. And sometimes you feel like I just go and get my dad and I want to tell them, hey dad, I want to take a picture of you. What do you want to do with my photo? I really don't know. I can't give them a clear answer. The only answer maybe I will give that you'll be able maybe to get this kind of an amount. Let me just take the photo. And maybe if he's willing, we can take it. So the desperation will lead a lot of these people to maybe doing these things, and the companies developing the system are now choosing to exploit those weaknesses they see, and that is why I understand, even if this kind of jobs will be available in first world countries, maybe other more developed countries in Germany and everything, they may have challenges, but their challenges could be slightly minimal compared to the third world countries. Yeah, because I actually understand for one of those companies, we used to work for them for these what we call hard jobs, and when they got the more the one for developing the LLMs, because the rates are a bit high and they can now be able to hire a US person, a Canadian person, and everything. So some of those jobs maybe we understand some of them they are now available in those countries because we could see them, but you can't access them because of your IP address. If you try to be smart, like you can bypass and assume like you live in Canada, definitely they'll have the mechanism to strike you. And what they'll do, they won't strike you when you're working. They'll wait for you to work the entire week, and then on payday, they'll now suspend your account. They knew from day one you're not a Canadian, but they had to wait for you to work. Yeah. So this is now pushing even the people who are in the industry. Sometimes if you are playing the unethical game, let's now try to play the same unethical game, but they are smarter. They still get us. Yeah. So from these challenges, when I talk of the data labeling, the challenges, sometimes I feel I can talk the whole day. I've gone through a lot. Working for 5 years, it's a lot. So from these challenges, we sat as a group. After coming, maybe we found our issues are common, and we realized what can we do? What can we try to come up with, which can now help us navigate or maybe provide better environment for the people in the industry. That is when we came up with the Data Labelers Association, which was founded back in 2024 by a group of, as I said, group of labelers. These are people who are experienced. We have people who started working. Our president, I believe, actually started working back at the vice president actually started working in 2018. So these are people who have been in this industry for long. For us, we have 6 years, 7 years, 5 years, and so. So we really understand the whole industry inside out. What can we do now to solve these challenges? And that is when we came up with the Data Labelers Association. It is a registered association, and what we do, we empower data labelers, content moderators, and annotation professionals. We advocate for fair works across the country. We have different programs, and to mention some of them, we have the worker education and upskilling. What we do now, we want now to get more projects, more that is that is more courses, talk of maybe which can now maybe be give these people even more better jobs. Let's say like not all about maybe labeling and everything, but we can have other projects, other courses. Let's talk of like data science, maybe those kind of skills. Yeah, we're now trying to have these members have better skills. What can you upgrade from what you already have? Yes, you understand data labeling and everything, but what can help you gain better? Yeah. So have those projects, we have those programs. We are now on the starting stages where we can now get this program going. The other thing is policy and advocacy. We talk of the when you talk of policy and advocacy, we are partnering with this government to help improve this regulation. Can we now be able to come up with something recent, not the 2007 labor rights or something? Can we come with something recent which can now understand, can be able to accommodate the kind of work we have in 2025? Yeah, those are some of the things we have, and I'll be sharing one of the of our projects we are having. We have been having conversations even with the Senate, and that is the institutions in government. And you go there, that is when you start talking of data labeling, and you find like someone thought they understand what you do, but clearly they don't understand. You go there, you start saying, oh, we view this content, we do this, we model this, maybe we help these self-driving cars do this and this. But clearly, you find most people won't really understand, comprehend the whole thing. Then we have the mental health part and wellness part. These are very critical area which we found like we have a lot of young people engaged in this industry, but the things they are going through, there is no one they can share with. There is no one like they can tell, oh, so I'm going through this, I need help, I need this and all that. How can they be helped before we get to those extreme cases of suicide and everything? Who can they share? And just as a small, sometimes in the organization I am with, when I saw how people are having challenges, maybe you don't even have a common group where you can share. I realized even having just a common group where people can air their issues, even if they are not being, you are not getting solutions instantly. But I realized maybe hearing there are other people having your issues may help you maybe get some part of healing. That is now another part of the project. It falls under the community. Yeah, we have the fair labor campaigns. We want to push for fair pay for this project. We want to push for decent work. When you talk of decent, a work that someone can see, yes, I work as a data labeler. I have these benefits. Yeah, I have the medical cover. I can have my medical leave and everything. Because you realize sometimes because of the way the whole thing is structured, sometimes you are forced to get to working even when you are not ready to do so. I was sharing with a lady on the platform the other day. She's already working on the platform. She's already back working. I think 2 or 3 weeks after getting her baby through CS. This is a person you want, maybe if there is that medical leave and everything, this is a person you want them to be with their baby for the next 6 months. still getting payout. But because the work they do can't allow them to have all that period, because it means you go home for 6 months, what will you feed your baby? So you are forced in those circumstances to still continue working because so that you can be able to provide. We are also negotiating with companies who can be able to agree to the terms. We come to MOUs and everything so that we can now get better jobs for these people. We have a growing membership. The last time I checked, we are almost over 800 plus. So we want to have better jobs. So we are negotiating with dignified employers, get to MOUs with them, be able to get this job well structured, which can now meet all our strategy, all our goals and all our mission. Is it a decent work, well provided, well covered and everything? Yeah, so we are still, that is also one of our goals and one of our programs. And as I have mentioned, community building. When people come together, they share about their issues, they'll talk about so many things, and it really helps them grow. It really helps them really understand. As I had said, when I saw that that person actually, you got your payout not to your expectation, you end up crying because of the many challenges you have. But I realized that after I created the group, people will joke around, they'll talk about it, and they'll also come up with some strategies. How can we counter this? How can we try maybe to come up, maybe talk to the organization, even if they are not listening, at least they'll see we are going through this, and through that we are seeing some slight changes. Even if there is they improved the pay, but now they broke the whole thing about when you are supposed to be paid. So you feel like the pay is somehow better, but when will you get it? You do a project, you wait for a week, for not 1 week, a month. Actually, I have pending work which has been pending since October. Yeah, and some of the work may even be like they just try to forget it. And eventually you write emails, you get tired. Actually, there is a similar project. I wrote emails, I got tired. I worked back in September, I think early September. All the other works was paid. This is not paid. What will you do? You keep on asking, asking, asking. Then sometimes you just choose to ignore and say, let's just move on. We can't stay on the same area forever. So the community building, organizing events, just people just to talk. And because we realized most of these people, because they work behind their machines, and the instances where you don't work in a BPO center, you don't meet each other. So you are just there. Maybe if you are lucky, you meet in Google Meets, but eventually, so you don't have that correlations. You don't even understand what this person goes through, what can they do, what can they help, and everything. Yes. So that is what we have. That is also one of our programs on community building. So what makes DLA different, the Data Laborers Association? It is worker-led. The people are the one making the decisions. It's not like one thing, one person decisions. It's not like the president, the vice president, or the co-founders making the decision. It is the people who are making those decisions. What do we want? Because they all have the expertise in this field. If you decide we want to come up with maybe structure, maybe we want to come up with a certain program, all the people will contribute because they have the experience in the industry. And then we have the grassroots approach. The So the organization is built from the ground, from the people, from the guys in the industry, not something which was created from an office, maybe on a high table or something. It is from the ground, from the people. The people who are the 10 founding members, these are people who had been in this industry for a while, and they really understand the whole thing. It is also built on transparency, where everything which is spent, everything that we do, If maybe we are lucky to get some funding to do some project, everything will be tracked. And that's what makes us different from other organizations that we maybe you may have come across. We actually have some research and data initiative also happening. We have one of them is workforce mapping. So we want to understand the whole demographic of the people in this industry. Because apart from we came to understand we have different data labelers. We have people working in even platforms that I don't know. There are people doing different kind of work that I have not come across. As I had said, for the 5 years plus, I have been more in the more what we call LiDAR, light detection and ranging systems, labeling mostly images and such. So you find there are people doing different kind of data. Then we also do draw white papers. This is where we get to discussions with researchers, journalists. They help us publish what we do and also the work that we do out there, so that it can be able to get we can get be able to get that industrial standards that we want. We also engage with other stakeholders, the government, other people in different organizations who are also pushing for labor rights, so that we can be able to help and get the whole thing clear. What just come up with something that will be effective for the whole for these people, because it is a huge workforce in this industry. So we also impact measurement. We also do impact measurement. So we track the improvement in worker conditions and compensations. And so if we had an engagement with a certain BPO, we usually track what is actually happening. And through our engagement, we have seen some benefit. In one of our organizations, we realized they actually raised their rate, which they have been using for years. It was implemented a bit higher. Still not at to the standard we need, but it is a milestone. We have also scheduled conversations with other BPOs, so that we can see what can be improved. The good thing is, like a BPO, at least there are people you can meet, but the majority are in these platforms are based in mostly maybe US and other countries. You can't meet them. They just create the platform, uh, promote it on Google, and people will start working on that particular platform. So reaching to these people is a huge challenge. One of our current projects where we have had the stakeholders engagement is code of conduct. This is where we realized we need to come up with something that reflects the people on what we need. Yeah, we need to come up. The code of conduct now sets the standard for ethical, respectful, and professional behavior across all levels of organization. What it will promote the integrity, the respect, the compliance, and the responsibility. So we want to come up with a document that can now, if it is adopted by the government into law, any organization coming to Kenya, it will now be able to understand these are the levels we need to work with. Yeah, because right now they are able to bypass most of the rules that we usually come, which are actually there and everything. Why this matters? As I have said, human hands power are the ones who will power the self-driving cars, the medical tools, and the recommendation engines. So these systems we usually brag about, these are the things which have been developed by these people. They are not actually developing, they have been involved in the development. They have helped shape it. Talk of like a system like the chatbots and everything. They have been made better by the people. We have actually been working on those kind of projects where you are now asked which is the best response based on these, based on these. Sometimes you're even working on projects where you are now supposed to try challenge the bot. Yeah. So it arrange it in a way like you are not trying to create your own query and responses and kind of sort so that the answer it can't even find it anywhere else. So through that, it is be able to continue learning. So the invisible, there is no recognition, no powers, no power. And behind the screens, you have the rejected task. As I have said, mine is not rejected. It was accepted but not paid. But I have cases of tasks which have been rejected. You worked for a task, it get rejected, and there is no response. Like a good example is you have guys who working on a project for data collection. You are told to collect to take 10 images of maybe something, maybe the same thing I said about the kids. You take, or maybe your granny or someone, you take 10 images for you to get that compensation of $5. But then before, instead of them paying you, they just tell you you are maybe they are of low quality. They are not. They just get rejected. Where do they take the data? They just stay with it. You don't even know the reason because sometimes they just reject one of your 10, and that is a reason why they won't pay you because you're supposed to be paid for 10 accepted, but only 9 were accepted, but you won't be paid for the 9 accepted tasks. Our work shapes the AI, but AI hides the people behind it. As I have described, I believe now it's clear. We do a lot, but when everything is being mentioned, when the CEO is standing on a podium in a hall or in an auditorium full of people launching their platform, they just say how they have developed this, it can do this and this and this. Who actually helped you do that particular work? How did you pay them? How did you compensate them? How is their mental health working on these things? It can be biased to, they say it can be able to reject harmful content, can be able to do this. How did it learn to do that? So someone had to view for it and tell it you are not supposed to accept this because this is bad. Someone actually consumed that particular harmful content. So the Data Laborers Association, DLA, it exists out of necessity. Out of necessity. It gives the rights and a voice to the people who build the digital AI. So that is what we want to do. We want to empower the whole system, the whole that is the whole organization, have a strong organization that can now be able to empower and give these voices to the people because there is a lot of retaliation when someone who is already working uh, when they air their voices and everything. There is a lot of retaliation and everything. And a good example is there was a report which was published by Wired where some workers were actually laid off because of airing their voice. They wanted to unionize. They want to have their own union where they can now challenge the system. But over 200 people were laid off. When the sole company, the Google, is asked about the whole thing, they said they actually contract other people. So those people are not their employees. They are helping them build their system, but they are not their employees. They are not liable. Same case, we had a case here for content moderators where they're working for a BPO, but they are viewing data for Meta. So the case was to sue Meta, but the case there was a ruling that like that you can't sue the Meta. Yet they are the one giving these jobs and everything, but they now want you to sue a BPO you don't even know who the owner is. Yeah. So that retaliation, but the whole organization, that is why we want to hear the voices because for the worker so that they can have decent working environment. What need to change? We need enforceable rights, contract that protect us, pay that reflect our value, and system of accountability. I don't want to be recognized by mere words. I heard the words of a CEO telling me like when he visited here, oh, I hear you are the best in this and this. I don't want mere words. I want actions. If I'm the best, I want to feel the recognition as the best data laborer you have. Yeah, I want to feel like, yes, I'm secure. I can be able to provide this. I know as I work for you, I know everything is secure. I have that contract. Even if it is not that long, I know if you contract me for 6 months, I know the next 6 months I'll be working. I can even be able to plan. Right now, I get a pay and I can't even know what to do with it. You may spend all of it expecting another pay in 2 or 3 weeks, and then you realize they just decided to close the whole thing. Or as you wait for the payout, they even change the whole thing, the payment method and all that. We need recognition. AI does not work by itself, as I have said. It works because we work. That I believe explains it. I have mentioned it a lot. And we also need to move from being tools to being co-creators. Yeah, we are not like the keyboard tool, the segmentation tool, and everything. We are the co-creators of these platforms. Yeah, so what maybe the people who are viewing, what can they do? Our students, our researchers, and the people who will be able to access these presentations, what can you do? Recognize data labelers as collaborators and innovators in the industry. Include us in your funding policy and research and media. We understand a lot of these projects requires a lot of funding and everything. We want to do mapping the whole country and even move outside country, but you can't do that if you don't have enough fund to do that. You need to get people to meetings. You need to travel. You need to do this. You need to have community building events. You need all that, but you can't be able to do this without the proper funding. We have, in terms of policy, the organizations, we have other organizations apart from in our country, we have international organizations come up with policy to protect data workers, data laborers all over. Because if we have like the organizations that come up with the whole laws and everything, we can be able to that is, if there is that law which we can reference to, according to ILO and so and so and so, or such other organization, we cannot be able, if we happen to have like a case with a certain organization, and even as these organizations come to us, they'll be able to understand there is this law which governs the research. The researchers do more research on this industry, publish a lot of media on this industry. Let these challenges be aired out there. Let the government, the organizations actually understand what is actually happening behind the scene. It is not all about pressing the computers and such. Yeah, we also demand we demand the transparency in the AI supply chain, and you can also partner with us, not as the beneficiaries, but as leaders. Leaders in different, I know we have people who are leaders in different categories, guide us in the whole of those areas. Yeah. And to the policymakers, the funders, and the tech builders out there, ethical AI starts with recognizing the human who build it. Inclusive tech begins with fair, visible labor. And justice for tomorrow demands facing today's injustices. If we want to have a better working conditions for these people, we have to face the injustices which are happening today. Otherwise, we'll continue having the same things tomorrow, the next year, the year after, and such. Yeah, so we are no longer invisible. We are no longer voiceless, no longer waiting. We are here. We are rising and we are unstoppable.